Hello, everyone. I'm Kamraun.
And I'm Billy. Welcome to the HorseFrog podcast, home of your two favorite professional digressors.
Today, we will be discussing Book 4, Chapter 25 of Memories of Ice, a novel in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. This is part 3 of our coverage of this chapter.
This podcast series is intended to be a companion to reading or listening to the books set in the Malazan universe. It's not a book review, and it's most definitely not a replacement to reading the books. Both Kamraun and I know that this series is the best fantasy story ever written, and we're approaching this from a purely fanboy point of view. And there's not going to be much literary critique on Mr. Erikson's behalf, at least.
We'll be covering the events of the books in a linear fashion. There will be spoilers for those that haven't read the books. We'll try not to spoil anything prior to us covering that portion of the respective book.
Now, quick warning. Today's episode contains descriptions of adult topics and extreme violence, and thus is not suitable for children.
There we go. Well done. Our show is listener-supported. If you'd like to support us, we'd really appreciate it. You can do so by visiting our Patreon link on our website at horsefrogproductions.com. Currently, we're posting ad-free episodes on Patreon weekly.
Also, we would really like to hear from you, and we really do mean that. So send any feedback or comments that you have to contact at horsefrogproductions.com.
All right, Chapter 25, Part 3. We pick up the chapter where we left off with Perrin and Quick Ben. Perrin ducked even lower to a sudden descent of gloom. Cold. A weight overwhelming the captain. Beside him, Quick Ben groaned, then hissed. "This is it, friend. Kurald Galain. I can use this. Get us over this wall. We have to see." Perrin thought, "See what? Gods, I'm being crushed." So, this begs the question, when Rake arrives in Gardens of the Moon and there is a description of overwhelming pressure, is it Kurald Galain causing that from his sorceress arrival, or is it the sword, or both?
That is a fantastic question, and from this description, I'm guessing it's just Kurald Galain, because we have no description of a sword being present, at least in this scene. We know it's there because we know who's driving this boat. One of those I'm kind of like, it may just be the power of Kurald Galain is so, I guess being the primordial power of it all, is a very powerful source, apparently.
Yeah, it might be a combination of things where it's the magnitude of what is happening that is also making it larger than it would be otherwise.
Right.
Because we're about to get into, I think it's later, maybe halfway through this section that we're covering today, where they talk about how many people were involved and how many times this has happened in the past, and it's pretty serious business.
Apparently so.
It's really the manifestation of this heaviness that I'm interested in, because that groaning weight, the pressure, it's very reminiscent of the way it was described in Gardens of the Moon.
In Gardens of the Moon, I'm going to have to say that that's probably the sword, because I think, every time he arrived, don't we hear the groaning of the wheels whenever that old boy arrives personally?
Oh yeah, the creaking
like
of
wheels.
The wheels,
Yeah.
and then the chains rattling.
Yeah, so maybe he's just because I guess it's all one and the same, Kamraun. We know what's in there. We know what's in the sword.
Interesting. Yeah.
So it's kind of one and the same, isn't it?
Well, there's also some stuff that we know about the weight of the sword itself and what
Yes.
it takes to carry it. We can't really go too far into it right now, spoiler territory, but that also kind of colors my ideas on what's going on here.
Yeah.
But in this case, with the descriptions of Kurald Galain manifesting here, the way it is being used along with what's happening here makes me think that the majority of what is being experienced here is, in fact, the Kurald Galain, not so much Dragnapur.
Agreed. I agree with you.
And maybe that was partially a Gardens of the Moonism. He hadn't really fleshed out his thoughts on how these two things were split as well. Maybe at that time he was really intermingling the two, and maybe he decided to differentiate them a little bit more as time went on, too.
That may be.
The pressure dimmed suddenly. Hands gripped Perrin's harness, dragged him up, metal scraping, leather catching, up and over the low wall to thump down on the other side. The darkness continued its preternatural fall, dulling the sun to a gray, fitfully wavering disk. Condors overhead, screaming, and in those screams, raw terror. Perrin twisted round, looked upon the scene on the parapet. 30 paces away, on the far edge, crouching, was a figure the captain knew instinctively to be the seer. Human flesh and skin had sloughed away, revealing a Jagut, naked, surrounded in misty clouds of ice crystals. Clutched in the seer's hands, an egg the size of a cusser. At his side, huge and misshapen, a Kachin Shamal. Perrin caught himself and thought, no, the matron. What flowed from her left Perrin horrified and filled with pity. She was mindless, her soul stripped, filled with a pain he knew she could not even feel, the only mercy that remained. And she's had a rough go of it. After being imprisoned at the Rift in Morn, then being forced to continue on like this, I wonder what she was like when she had all of her faculties.
I'm very intrigued by the Kachin Shamal and what goes on with that bunch. I don't know. They are so unique in this world. Everything else is somewhat vaguely kind of, they're humanoid. These are not any kind of humanoids.
Yeah.
I got no idea what goes on with these folks because they're quite literally lizards. And it's like, if they're like real lizards, I mean, what are their motivations? I don't know. Keeping warm? I don't know. I'm intrigued by that question, is all I can say.
They seem to have a kind of hive-type mentality, almost like honeybees, where you have the queen, which is the matron in this case. That's the egg layer.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the hive is there to protect them. So in that regard, I don't even know if I could comprehend what they think like. Because it's such a different way of seeing the world.
Yeah. And we know, well, I say this, I don't know if it's known. So, yeah. I'll hush.
Yeah. You're bordering on dangerous territory, sir.
Yes.
Warning.
Yeah. So all I know is I will say this, is that I hadn't looked at Reddit in many, many, many moons. Something called me there for something. I was digging through something else. Popped up. Somebody said he had bought the first 3 books of that really pretty printing that you've shown me with the really cool cover artwork, The
broken binding?
Yes. This person has bought the broken bindings, but it's not read the Malazan books ever. He just loves the cover so much, and he's bought them. It's like, should I read it? Somebody says, dude, dinosaurs with swords. Do I need to say anything else? It's just like, I think you pretty much nailed it there,
I wonder why he bought them if he didn't have any interest in reading them. That's crazy. I mean, the artwork on them is very good.
I know why. I have a friend, I'm going to speculate here, this buddy of mine here that I work with. He is a video game collector. He is a player too. But mostly he's kind of like, he's a sports guy. So he tends to just play, your NBA and your NFL, 2K, whatever. The current editions. But the guy kind of he's like myself. He's an obsessive compulsive on things that he likes. And so all of a sudden he started putting all of his energy into collecting video games. And he's probably collected, since I've known him, he started with 6. And I think he's like at the 600 to 700 mark. And I'm like, okay.
So if I understand that statement, since you've met him, he has collected over 596 video games. Is that?
Yes, sir.
Or 594?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are these Nintendo games, or are they games worth collecting, I guess, is the question.
Yes and no. He understands the market. He's one that is very well aware of things. He's also a thrift shop guy. We live in the land of thrift shops here. So he's found some of these are nice finds, just finds. He and I started playing Switch together. Not together, but we talk about it, and he's the reason why I have a Switch too. Mm-hmm. So I play these games, but I play the same stuff over and over and over again. This guy plays nothing but collects them all.
Okay.
And the systems. So he has systems. So if a time should ever come and he has time to not be working, because he's one of the managers I work with. He's actually my boss right now. He's moved up that ladder. And it's like he works so hard. I'm like, okay, do you ever if I ever have time to not work, then yes, I'll play. I think he kind of lives vicariously through me in the gaming aspect of life. But yes, he is a gamer, but he's not, it's odd. So I think I say that to say that I could see someone who got into collecting fantasy books, maybe because as a kid, man, I'd collect them just because the covers look so stinking cool,
So, okay, to that point, that's why I asked if it was things worth collecting like Nintendo games or old cartridge games, the Genesis, whatever. Because when we were younger, computer games were actually really cool. They had discs, and the boxes were art in and of themselves because that's how they had to sell the game. There wasn't an internet that was widely used that could disseminate information. Advertising was done through magazines, and that probably wasn't cheap. So you had to get people's attention by having nice boxes.
Yes.
That's one aspect of it. Now, everything's a digital download. You can practically get locked out of a game because in some cases, to the point about the Switch 2, there isn't even a game on the cartridge anymore.
Yes.
It's a digital code. some things have a value associated with them because they are collector's items and you can probably resell them at some point because there's a market value for them. But modern games, that paradigm really doesn't exist anymore.
The only system, for some reason, Nintendo is the only one that seems to hold on to this level of collectability. And because of that very intriguing thing that you just mentioned, I was going to bring up, that I have a cartridge. It's a cartridge, and you load the cartridge. Now, it's a remaster of an old game. So it's not a big game, but you load the cartridge into your system, and then you have to download the game. And then if you want to play the game, you have to have it physically downloaded onto your system, and you're basically inserting a physical key into the device to use that software.
Yes.
And it was very intriguing, but what this does for Nintendo is it makes that key resellable, because you can't sell a key code. You're selling a cartridge that's technically a key code. Like you just said, I had not looked at it that way. It's like, but you're selling a resellable item, strangely enough.
Here's the thing. If the apocalypse happens, there's no internet to authenticate your key. You can't just pick it up and play it. I know that's an extreme case, but the point is things aren't really collectible anymore.
But I think the same thoughts, dude. It's
We have gone on a big tangent. I was trying to think, how do we get here? It was the reason why the guy bought the Malazan books.
Yes.
They look cool, but if you didn't plan on reading them, why? Okay, I understand how we got here. We need to move along. That was a heck of a digression.
What's bad is it wasn't going to stop unless you just put the brakes on it like you did. Thank you. It's like, wow.
I have to, because we're bordering on a Nintendo Switch 2 rant from me and how they're not getting my money anymore. I'm not going down the road.
Okay.
Moving along.
Okay, right on, man.
I'm
sorry.
All right, reel it in. All right.
Hold on. Kamraun, tell us how you really feel about the Nintendo Switch 2.
Can I keep it together?
Can you keep it together? Right. Keep it together. Keep it together. Keep it together. Okay.
I don't have enough time to go into all of the problems with the Switch 2 launch. Let's move on.
Okay. Okay, sure.
2 heavily armored Kael hunters had been guarding their mother, but were now moving forward, weapons rising, thumping across the roof as, at a stairwell 15 paces to Perrin's left, 2 figures appeared. Masked, painted from head to toe in blood, each wielding 2 swords, clambering free of a passageway strewn with the bodies of Erdoman and Seerdamen. Quick Ben swore, "Hood's bureaucrats! Those are Segula!" I'm just kidding. That's not what he said. It was too good of an opportunity to pass up.
What's bad is I'm sorry, we're gonna have another digression real quick. I got your text the other day. That was that I've texted that same thing about the Mad Max.
Oh gosh.
The guy that is. I told you that's how I see the Segula for some reason. I'm like, why? Why do I see them like that?
My mom texted me. She listened to the episode and she was cracking up at this exact topic.
Oh, that's great, dude. Oh.
Quickben shouted, "Hood, take us! Those are Segula!" But Perrin's attention had already left them, was oblivious of the battlefield as the Kael hunters closed with the Segula. The storm cloud that had towered overhead for so long was still climbing, shredding apart, almost lost in darkness. Something, he realized with a chill, was coming. Quickben shouted, "Captain, follow me!" as he edged along the low wall, following its curve towards the harbor side. Perrin scrambled after him. They halted where they had a full view of the harbor and the bay. Far out in the bay, the horizon's line of ice was exploding all along its length, in white, spewing clouds. The waters of the harbor had grown glass smooth beneath the dark, now motionless air. The web of rope spanning it, with its shacks and dangling lines and withered corpses, suddenly trembled. Perrin said, "In Hood's name, what's—" Quickben said, "Shh! Oh, abyss! Watch!" And he did. The glass-smoothed waters of the harbor shivered, swelled, bulged, then, impossibly, fled on all sides. Black, enormous, something rising from the depths. Seas thrashed, a ring of foam racing outward. A sudden push of cold wind hammered the parapet, made the structure sway, then tremble. Rock, ragged, scarred. Perrin thought, a hood-damned mountain, rising from the harbor, lifting the vast net with it. And the mountain grew larger, rose higher, darkness bleeding from it in radiating waves. Through the roaring wind, Quickben shouted, "They've unveiled Curald Galain, all of them!" Perrin stared. He thought, moon spawn, rising. Rake hit it. Oh, abyss below, did Rake hide it. Rising, water descending down its battered sides in tumbling falls, into mist that flowed as the edifice climbed ever higher. Perrin thought, the cut, Ortnall's cut, that chasm. Quick Ben hissed, look, those cracks! And now he saw the cost of Rake's gambit. Huge fissures scarred the face of Moonspawn, fissures from which water still poured in undiminished volume, rising, 2/3 now clear of the churned seas. Slowly spinning, bringing into view, high on one side, a ledge, where stood a lone figure. What a reveal. This is a core memory. Core.
Mm-hmm.
The image of the mountain rising from the water, all the fissures in the rock dumping water out. Such a cinematic moment.
Absolutely. Incredible image, man. Absolutely incredible image. And yeah, I'm agreeing. It's a core. It's a total core memory. Because remember last episode, I think, or was the week before, you were wondering about that cloud.
Yeah. It was a rope-a-dope.
Rope-a-dope, big time.
Yeah.
But was it? I'm sorry.
I think so. Well, I think the cloud was a diversion, wasn't it? All the condors were networked together.
Yeah, they
were focused on that cloud. I thought it might be inside of it, and it turned out no, it's a diversion.
That was great, dude. Great diversion.
I was trying to remember what specifically I was thinking of. There was an image tied to this. I couldn't place it until just now. It's at the end of the abyss, where that spaceship comes up out of the water and all the water is coming off of it. Do you remember that? Did you ever see The Abyss?
I've not seen The Abyss.
Billy.
I have another
How many times?
I have another image
That's a James Cameron movie. What are we even talking about here?
That's a lot of the reason. I did not even know that was a James Cameron movie. So you're trying to make me not watch the movie now?
You don't like James Cameron movies?
Terminator 2 and Alien.
Okay.
That's kind of about it. And the Terminator.
It's from that era.
Yeah, I don't know why it just never appealed to me. It was just something that never, I don't know. I don't know what it was that, what I think about is the Comet Empire from, oh my gosh, I forget which anime that was. It's either Battle of the Planets or somebody like that. The Comet Empire was they rode around on a comet that looks like Moonspawn.
Okay.
But I'm so sorry that I've disappointed yet again on my...
We're on the second set of 3 strikes, so that's the first of the second set. You're on a roll, though. We're at like 1 per episode at this point, so I need to just stop with the movie references at this point.
James Cameron is responsible in South Park for my favorite James Cameron quote, which is, James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does because of James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron. An end quote.
It makes total sense. Okay, so at the end of the movie, this huge spaceship is brought up from the Marianas Trench, and all this water is sloughing off of it, coming out of these different vents and everything. And
okay.
They have all these huge, like, super tanker-sized ships dwarfed by this massive alien ship comes up under them. That kind of reminded me of this a little bit, just because of all the water coming off this huge, monstrous object as it comes out of the water. I also thought, going back to it emerging here, what a clever way to hide Moonspawn.
Yeah.
Recall the Condors had been searching everywhere they thought it could be. No one, not a single person, thought they'd turn it into a submarine throughout this process,
Oh, it's beautiful misdirection, dude. It's absolutely amazingly done.
We go to Itkovian and the Talani Mass. Memories. Gone. In their wake, tens of thousands of souls. Silent. Itkovian said, "To me, then. I will take your pain now." The Talani Mass said, "You are mortal." Itkovian repeated, "I am mortal." The Talani Mass said, "You cannot carry our pain." Itkovian said, "I can." The Talani Mass said, "You cannot deliver it." Itkovian cut in, "I shall." The Talani Mass said, "Itkovian." Itkovian interrupted, "Your pain, Talani Mass. Now." It rose before him, a wave of immeasurable height, rose, towering, then plunged towards him. And they saw, one and all, they saw Itkovian's welcoming smile. The last time he got a small taste of what's about to hit him, he almost died. This smile, is this because after the last couple of chapters where he was contemplating his existence, he finally came to the realization that this is his purpose?
That is how I feel. After quite literally losing his god, the entity he's sworn to and that obviously served some purpose, and he was in direct communication with Fainer in some way. I mean, I'm not ever sure how, but there was some direct communication, apparently, or some kind of interaction between him and Fainer. So to have been lost, I mean, you can't lose your religion any more truer than that. You lost your God literally. So he's been looking for something this road trip in his discussions with Grunthal and Stani, before they took off on the last run here. But he was hanging out with them. He was searching for something. He was enjoying being around the kind of grunts and being like a normal dude for a while. But after a while, it's kind of like, well, what am I doing? So that's my feeling.
Do you think there's something here, underlying theme of men needing a purpose in life?
That could very well be, and I couldn't agree more.
You hear about it a lot of times. Fathers need to be needed, or people that are tied to their jobs and they feel valued for their knowledge and they retire and then they feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. And a lot of times that causes people to shut down. I don't know if it's specific to men or it affects men more than women. I'd be curious about that. I've generally heard about it talked about from the perspective of men. I don't know if I just noticed it more.
I think you're right. I mean, on the aspect of men and women, but it's the difference is, I mean, at least from our age group, specifically my age group, I'm a little bit older than you, is that our generation was raised by parents that the mom most of the time was a stay-at-home mom. That was kind of considered the job. So when a man worked and didn't have a work to go to, they felt unproductive, while the woman still, her home was her job. And so she always had a job. Even when the husband retires, the woman still has a job in that aspect. And so that creates, you're right, that creates some issues, I think. Me being a big Bible reader and big fan, there's no talk about retirement there. No talk about retirement, and there's mention if you eat, you got to work to eat. You got to work if you want to eat.
I guess the question would be, moms, if they're strongly attached to their children, they probably always feel needed by the children. And people that don't have children, it makes you wonder what they put in for their purpose, whether it's work or volunteering or whatever it is. But generally, I have to have some purpose in life, I think.
Yeah, you do. I agree.
Yeah, I do wonder at how much children plays into this and being needed by the children. And in Kovian's case, he has no children. His purpose was doing what he did for Fainer, who's not there anymore.
Exactly. And his company's now pledged to something entirely new. And so while they're still friendly, they're not really friends in a way. They're acquaintances now.
Yeah. All right. On a side note, this smile that he has, there was a video game that came out. It's a Warhammer 40K game. There was a trailer for it. The game was called Dawn of War 3. And I remember when this trailer came out, the game itself turned out to be bad compared to the prior games in the series, but the trailer was amazing. When the dreams were still alive that this would be a great game. At the end of this trailer, there's a space marine. He's seeing his death coming, and he closes his eyes and smiles. I just see a Kovian like that right now. And there's a saying for the space marines, only in death does duty end, something along those lines. So he got what he wanted. But it does kind of feel very similar for Kovian right here, because he's about to be hit by that tidal wave.
I agree. I like that smile.
We go to Brood. Moonspawn rose, shrouded in darkness, beyond the city. Caladan Brood stared. Cascading clouds of mist, streams of water falling, fading. Dragons now, wheeling outward, black, one crimson, waves of Cruald Ghislaine lashing out, incinerating the demonic condors. A wild Solana has appeared. It's the first time we've seen her since Gardens of the Moon.
So she's probably pretty ready for some action.
If I remember correctly, she got pretty messed up and has probably been resting this entire time.
Yeah.
Because didn't Race crush her bones and slam her into the ground or something?
Race treated this little thing like a little toy. He treated Solana like really badly.
Well, it seems those condors have finally met their match, whether it's Solana or these waves of sorcery, Cruald Ghislaine, that are doing the damage. It's nice to have some backup here.
Yeah, I agree. They've got some backup, and it seems like the condors at least don't stand a chance.
Moonspawn, leaning, a massive chunk of midnight stone sloughing from one side, rocking the entire edifice, leaning, sliding, forward, towards the keep. That doesn't sound good. Sounds like it's falling apart.
Yeah, yes it does. Not much left of this old girl.
On the killing field below, scattered remnants of soldiers, Malazan, Barghast, Greyswords, Gruntle and the handful of followers that were all that remained of his legion had one and all crossed the stone bridge and were converging on the shattered north gate, unimpeded. The wall east of the gate was empty of mages, of anyone, stripped clean. So Gruntle is still alive, though in human form. I guess the tiger avatar sustained too much damage to continue in that form. At least it's not just lying there on the field all chopped up. Still, it sounds like that group took massive casualties leading the charge. We'll find out just how bad it is later, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, the way it looks here, it looks like he's a sole survivor, whatever his little group's called.
Close enough to might well be, because
right.
We'll get the exact numbers later. It's not good.
I remember later on, but no, it was a hardcore winnowing, shall we say.
Yeah. Fires lit the city beyond the wall. The sky was filling with black Maranth, great ravens, Kurald Galain spreading out, down onto Coral. Brood thought, a true unveiling. All of the Tistandi joined in ritual magic. The world has never known this. In all the millennia since their arrival, never known this. Burns' heart. What will come of this unveiling? He continued staring, overcome with a vast, soul-numbing helplessness. This guy has been alive a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He's never seen a full unveiling of Kurald Galain. Has there never been another event that required this? That really surprises me.
I'm very surprised as well. For some reason, I was thinking that maybe they did something similar to this for the chainings for some reason.
Yes. If anything justified unveiling it, it seems like that would have been a good time when an entire continent gets incinerated by something falling out of the sky. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I guess they couldn't do it because apparently it would have probably turned that whole continent to a dark spot on the map.
Okay. Still, it just seems so extreme for this to have been the big event that required it.
Right? I agree. Well, they said all the Tistandi. Well, first off, it's not all. Is it all the Tistandi high mages that are in the Moonspawn or them old boys?
Whoever went with Rake and was still in Moonspawn, I'm assuming all of them were involved in this.
Okay. Wow.
There were some that were with Corlat and Orphantal.
Right.
But it wasn't a big number of them.
Okay, so that was just a handful. I guess it was just her and her brother were the only Tistandi, maybe, in that group that followed this because she wanted to be near Whiskey Jack.
There might have been a couple more.
Okay.
Because she was going to go lead them.
Okay, so I guess it was all of them. Wow.
Yeah. We go to Corlat. The power flowed towards her and her eyes flashed as she and Orphantal swept on the cold, familiar currents of Kurald Galain towards Moonspawn. Oh, it was dying. She could see that. Dying, but not yet completed. Its dreadful, deadly task. She watched it moving, drawing closer to the keep's parapet, to where, she could now see, stood the seer, the Jagoot clutching the matron's finest, staring upward, frozen as the black, towering mountain inexorably approached. Darkness come to this world, to this place, this city. Darkness that would never dissipate. Coral. Black, black coral. What do you think's going through that Jagoot's head right now?
And the problem with that, oh boy, is he's obviously insane. From what little bits of interactions we've had with him, so I have no idea, but I'm assuming he thinks the jig is up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Around him, he's watching condors get sizzled by Kurald Galain. He's watching this thing barreling towards his keep.
Yeah.
No forces on his side in sight anywhere else. I imagine he's thinking he lost the game right now.
Yeah. It's not looking well. It's not looking good for you, sir.
Inside the keep, it took no more than a half dozen heartbeats before Lady Envy realized, as she watched the bridge burners crumble before the Erdeman attack, that she had misunderstood Picker's last comment. Not confidence, not even bravado. Rather, a comment rife with fatalism, no doubt typical of these soldiers, but entirely new to Lady Envy. As comprehension struck her, she acted. A small gesture with one hand, sufficient to rupture the flesh of the Erdeman warriors. They crumpled en masse, but the damage had already been done. 2 bridge burners remained standing, and both bore wounds. She watched as they began checking their fallen comrades, finally gathering around one, pulling him clear. Only one among those fallen, then, who still breathed. I had asked a question about when she uses her powers last episode, and I guess this answers it. It wasn't a matter of her actively holding it back. It was more, she didn't understand how dire the situation was and that they wouldn't be able to handle it.
Yeah. I guess that goes back to her she's just so oblivious to anybody But, the group that got her here, it's kind of funny. She picked such a small group to travel with, and they got her here. So she's probably thinking when she hooked up with about 15 or 20 of these guys, goes, there's a lot more of these boys. It's going to be a lot easier. It's like, no, they just all died, except for one of them.
She had to have an idea they're just normal soldiers, though, and not superhuman.
I would hope so.
Heavy boots down the hallway, fast approaching. Lady Envy scowled, raised her hand again. Picker screamed, "Wait! That's Mallet! Spin! Over here, you bastards!" Behind the first two who had appeared, Mallet and Spin, she presumed, staggered two more soldiers in the garb of the bridge burners. All were terribly wounded, the Barghast in particular, whose armor was nothing more than fragments and whose body was a mass of cuts and gaping holes. Even as she watched, he staggered, sank to his knees, teeth bared in a smeared grin, and died. I thought that was vaguely horse-like. It lasted until he stopped moving, and then he died.
Yeah, they run till they drop.
Well, R.I.P. Trots, what a beast. He really outperformed in that last engagement.
Yeah, I'm kind of perturbed. I read this, and at the same time, like, wow, casualties continue to mount this chapter.
Yeah. He was described as having literally been cut to pieces in the last episode that we covered. Yes.
Yeah. Last episode.
It doesn't come as a surprise. Everything's kind of coming real fast right now. They are continuing to mount. Whiskey Jack, Hedge, Deterin, now Trots.
Yeah. Unknown bridge burners.
Yeah, a bunch of unnamed ones have died.
And there wasn't many left to begin with. Yeah, there was like 60 or 70 left at the most of the bridge burners, and we lost just Lord knows how many here.
Yeah. Picker shouted, "Mallet!" The large man in the lead spun round, reeled at the sudden motion, and Lady Envy noted that he had taken a sword thrust that had gone right through him, just below the right shoulder. He stumbled back towards the Barghast. Lady Envy called out, "It is too late for him, I'm afraid. And you, healer, Mallet, you are done with your warren and you know it. Gather to me, then, and I shall oblige. As for you, Picker, a more honest answer to my question earlier would have resulted in a far less horrible episode." Wiping blood from her eyes, Picker simply stared. Lady Envy sighed and said, "Ah, well, perhaps it is best that you have no recollection of that sardonic quip. Come forward, all of you." Oh! She swung about suddenly as sorcery descended, Kurald Ghislaine, overwhelming in its power. Lady Envy cried, "Down those stairs! We must work clear of this, quickly!" Four dragging one, the surviving bridge burners followed Lady Envy. Do you think Picker will be hard on herself after Lady Envy chastised her about being sarcastic?
Maybe if it registers. He may be in shock right now.
I was trying to put myself in her position thinking she's always sarcastic. It's always there.
Yeah. There's nothing meant.
Yeah, I wonder if she would second guess herself saying, maybe things would have been different if I had not said that way or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she's had that beat out of her, and when people die, they die. They accept it because they've been soldiers for the last 20 years, 15 years, whatever it is.
20 years, yeah.
Watched so many people die.
Yeah.
We go to the duel between Tool and Mock. Splinters of bone struck the wall. Tool staggered back, crashing against the stone, swords falling from his hands, ringing on the flagstones. Mock raised both weapons and flew to one side, through the air, spinning, weapons sailing from his hands, to collide with a wall, then slide in a heap among shattered wood and metal. Tool raised his head. A huge black panther, lips peeled back in a silent snarl, slowly padded towards the unconscious Segula. Tool said, "No, sister." The soul-taken hesitated, then glanced back. Tool said, "No, leave him." The panther swung round, sembled, yet the rage remained in Kilava's eyes as she strode towards Tool. She shouted, "You are defeated! You, the first sword!" Tool slowly lowered himself to collect his notched sword and said, "I." Kilava shouted, "He is a mortal man!" Tool said, "Go to the abyss, Kilava." He straightened, back scraping as he continued leaning against the wall. Kilava said, "Let me kill him, now. Then once more you shall have no worthy challenger." Tool sighed and said, "Oh, sister, do you not realize? Our time, it has passed. We must relinquish our place in this world. Mock, that man you so casually struck from behind, he is the third. The second and the first are his masters with swords. Do you understand me, Kilava? Leave him. Leave them all." I'm going to do a throwback here.
Okay.
Going back to the duel where I took the title of First Sword from my friend in our guild in Star Wars The Old Republic. This was why I couldn't keep the title. I meticulously planned the battle to be both cinematic, since it was at the pit of the Sarlacc on Tatooine, but also so I could knock him into the pit and win. In true combat, I wouldn't win, and thus could not hold the title. Tool knows he can't win, and thus does not deserve to be the first sword anymore.
You know, I do hear you, but I still think at the same time, it's like sometimes that is part of being a master, is luring someone to the battle place you have prepared.
To me, that's a singular title. The first sword is supposed to be the best. It's not when in this situation or if this. It is a statement that holds true against all other contradictory facts.
I get it. Sure, I get this. But would the first sword never do this to somebody? Lure someone to some place to make quick work of it?
Tool doesn't strike me as the type of person that would do that. I mean, he didn't have to take up Mach on any of these challenges. He could just go to Dust and go wherever.
Yeah. I think I'm just being a devil's advocate on your behalf.
No, that's fine. I stand firmly with this belief. I'm willing to defend my position.
For me, in the book sense, I don't think there should. Tool has no shame here. I mean, he even seems to be like in awe. He's in awe of these mortals.
I'm not saying he should be shamed. No, I think he has accepted it.
Yeah, but I mean, he's like, dude, the number 3. It's like, but I love. It's like he's had a good run. 300,000 plus years. There's nothing to shirk at. They play. It's taken 300,000 years for people to be good enough to beat him. That's pretty good.
That's a great point.
The humans have leveled up, basically. They don't need us anymore.
Yeah. Tool slowly turned until he could see Tok the Younger. The body, speared through on a shaft of wood, did not move. Kilava followed his gaze and said, "The ancient wolf god is free. Can you not hear it?" Tool said, "No, I cannot." Kilava said, "That howl now fills another realm. The sound of birth, a realm brought into existence by the summoner. As for what now gives it life, something else entire. A scrape from the doorway." Both swung their heads. Another Talani mask stood beneath the arch, impaled with swords, cold-hammered copper sheathing canines. It asked, "Where is she?" Tool tilted his head and asked, "Who do you seek, kin?" The Talani mask said, "You are Onos Tulan." The attention then shifted to Kilava. It said, "You are his sister, the one who defied." Kilava's lip curled in contempt. She said, "And so I remain." The Talani mask said, "Onos Tulan, first sword. Where is the summoner?" Tool said, "I do not know. Who are you?" The Talani mask said, "Lannis Tog. I must find the summoner." Tool pushed himself from the wall and said, "Then we shall seek her together, Lannis Tog." Kilava spat. "Fools." She sure is coming across as hostile here. There must be a ton of long-standing resentment that is welling up within her. Do you think she feels abandoned similar to how Silver Fox does?
That would be my guess. Because she is very much alone, but hers would be even maybe more because she's been alive since this gathering too. So she's been alive, living on the fringes. What has she been doing? She's been hanging out.
I didn't put that connection together until I read through it this time, where she stood apart from everybody else and they all went their own way. There was probably some judgment on the parts of everybody that took the vow against her. And if she's the only one that didn't take the vow, she's standing by herself. Imagine having your whole culture, your tribe, everybody, your family, everybody taken away from you, and then progressing that forward 300,000 years. She's practically immortal.
Yeah.
That'd be real hard to deal with.
That'd be very hard to deal with because I'm assuming that, and seeing them around all the time and seeing your own brother, who is this, you have to probably see him in a while. It's like, that's got to just really be hard, man. And it's got to make you, I'm sure she's questioning everything right now.
So we did have that reunion with them earlier in the book. And it was a tough scene, heart-wrenching. I remember at the time getting pretty emotional as they were talking. I do think it would be really bad for her from the perspective that tribes were really tight-knit back then. It's a little bit different in modern times within these books. People seem to be a little bit less tribal unless you're in one of these Barghast tribes or the Revi or something along those lines. You know, like the city folk, they're more or less like we are today in the Western society, it seems.
Yeah, pretty modern.
Seven Cities is a little bit different. Say the Malazan culture seems to be more westernized.
Yes.
Interesting connection there between her and Silver Fox.
Yeah, very.
The last surviving flesh and blood bonecaster, and then the newly born one.
And that's probably deliberate, I'm assuming.
The patter of claws behind Lannis Tog. She wheeled, then backed away. Baeljag limped into the chamber. There's the mention of the claws on the stones.
That's great.
Ignoring everyone but Tok the Younger, the wolf approached the body, then whimpered. To Baeljag, Tool said, he is free, your mate. Kilava muttered, she is not deaf to that howl. Tog has passed into the warren of Talon, then to a place beyond. Brother, take that path, since you are so determined to find the summoner. They converge, one and all. Tool said, come with us. Kilava turned away, then said, no. Tool said, sister, come with us. She spun, face dark, and shouted, no! I've come for the seer. Do you understand me? I've come. Tool's gaze fell to Tok's broken corpse. He said, for redemption. Yes, I understand. Find him then. Kilava shouted, I shall! Now that I've saved you, I'm free to do as I please. Tool nodded. He said, and when you are done, sister, seek me out once more. Kilava asked, and why should I? Tool said, Kilava, bloodkin, seek me out. She was silent for a long moment, then she gave a curt nod. Lannis Tog strode to Tool's side and said, lead me then, first sword. The 2 Talani masks fell to dust. Then that, too, vanished. Kilava was alone in the chamber, barring an unconscious Segula, and an A now lying beside a corpse. She hesitated, took a step towards Mock's inert form, then sighed, wheeled about, and approached Baeljag. She whispered, you grieve for this mortal, reaching down to rest her hand on the beast's lowered head. She went on, for him, you hold back on what you so long for, your reunion with your lost mate. Was this man truly worthy of such loyalty? No, answer not. That is plain enough in your eyes. And so I will tell you something, Baeljag, that you clearly fail to realize. This mortal's soul, it rides Tog's own, and your mate would deliver it, but not to Hood's gate. Go then, pursue that trail. Here I shall open the way. She straightened, gestured. The warren of Talon opened. The chamber's musty air was swept away. A sweet smell of wet tundra, acrid mosses, and softened lichen flowed in on a soft, warm breeze. Baeljag bound through the portal. Kilava closed it after the beast, then walked from the chamber. Baeljag remembering Tok and wanting to protect his body is a touching moment. Something else that struck out to me here, though, Tok's soul is being carried by her mate somewhere. That's interesting.
I'm hoping something beneficial happens. It's really ticked off at Tok. All these people dying in the chapter is kind of ticking me off. Like, come on.
Oh, yeah, Tok was another one we lost.
Yes.
Yeah, we forgot to list him off.
Yeah.
A moment later, Blen stepped from the shadows. She strode to where Mock lay amidst broken wood and twisted metal, looked down on the unconscious figure. She thought, oh, that mask. So tempting. Tempting as in she wants to steal it or see what's under it?
Yes.
Okay, great answer.
Probably both. I think it's just both is all I got.
Startled shouts from the corridor behind her, the sound of soldiers scattering, then heartfelt curses. Someone shouted, a damned panther! Lady Envy said, Kilava, I have crossed paths with her before. Rude, indeed, to push us all aside in such contemptuous fashion. Blen turned as the troop arrived. Lady Envy paused, veiled eyes flicking from Mock to Tok the Younger. In a low voice she said, oh, my dear lad, would that you had remained in our company. Blen saw Picker, Mallet, Spindle, Antsy, Blue Pearl. Then she closed her eyes. Lady Envy said, well, that settles it then. We return to the keep's roof, swiftly before Kilava robs me of my vengeance against the seer. Picker growled, you can return to the roof. We're leaving. Blen thought, leaving. Oh, my love. Lady Envy crossed her arms and said, I exhaust myself healing you ungracious soldiers, and this is your answer? I want company! It's all about the companionship for her. She needs to read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That would help her out a lot.
I think so. Does she strike you as someone that was born into privilege and more or less always got what she wanted for her entire life, never matured emotionally?
That is the image that is most assuredly portrayed by her. But, wouldn't her age have taught her better? Or is she a sociopath? I mean, and I know that she isn't that much of a privileged life. I mean, I'm sure maybe she did live a privileged lifestyle, but her daddy isn't the nicest of fellow by all accounts. And yes, he seems kind of nice now. But, I guess it's spending several millennia trapped in a sword pulling a wagon kind of knocks some of the rough edges off you a little bit. I don't know.
Imagine somebody that is, from a looks perspective, perfection. Not talking anything about her personality or what she is on the inside, just visually perfection. There are going to be men fawning over her of, I'm sure, ascendants and regular men for her entire existence.
Yes.
Because that's the reality of the situation. In those scenarios, maybe you don't ever have to mature because there's always somebody there to fawn over you.
There's that, and I had never thought about this. Is her name truly her function?
What do you mean by that?
Is she actually just envy? I mean, like she wants people to envy her?
Like people are supposed to be jealous of her?
Yes, or something. I mean, but her and her sister names are, always stand out so much to me in this series. I'm like, what is going on there? All these ascendants and these godlike entities and actually gods of certain stripes. Is she the goddess envy?
Interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I'm curious.
Maybe. Or is that one of those situations where the parents didn't name the children until their personalities came out?
Dude, that's kind of what it sounds like. That's more than a lot. And why is Draconis the guy that's left in the picture? Where's the mom? I don't think we know who their mother is yet, do we?
Maybe that's in the Carcanos trilogy. That doesn't ring a bell for me.
Ah.
The fact that she has sorceress power too, she can manifest a lot of things that she wants as well. That doesn't help with having to develop some type of resilience. That was the other point, right? The looks is one thing with people fawning over you, but then to have magical powers on top of that, it's a whole another level.
You get what you want. And apparently limitless magic powers. She's not restricted by anything, it appears.
That we've seen. I don't know
Yes.
if we've seen her really hard pressed yet with someone of equal caliber.
But as far as her standing up in amongst this, like, full-on sorceress war, she's unbothered. She seems to be unimpressed almost.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Mallet and Spindle moved to retrieve Talk's body. Picker slumped against a wall, studied Lady Envy with red-shot eyes. She muttered, "Our thanks for the healing, but we need to rejoin One Arm's host." Lady Envy said, "And what if still more Panion soldiers are lurking about?" Picker said, "Then we join our slain brothers and sisters. What of it?" Lady Envy shouted, "Oh, you're all the same!" With that and a flurry of white robes, she stormed from the chamber. Blen drew closer to Picker and quietly said, "There's a hint of fresh air coming from the doorway beyond." Picker nodded and said, "Lead on." Back on the roof of the keep, canted to one side, shrouded in black mist, the ruptured basalt groaning like a living thing, Moon's spawn drew ever closer to the keep's parapet. Beneath the vast, overwhelming weight of Cruald Ghislaine, the seer crouched in his madness, head tilted to stare up at the edifice, the Finnest cradled with desperate possessiveness in his arms. Off to one side, the matron seemed to be trying to claw her way through the tiles beneath her. The pressure was unrelenting. The two Segala had not reached the rooftop unscathed, and the Kael hunters were proving more than their match. Both masked warriors had been driven back over the low ring wall, leaving trails of blood. Even so, Perrin had never before seen such a display of skill. The swords were a blur, seemingly everywhere at once, and the Kael hunters were being hacked to shreds even as they pressed on. Perrin had thought to help the two strangers, but had concluded that he'd prove more a hindrance. He glanced back at the sky to the north. Dragons, diving towards the city, waves of power lashing down to thunder in the streets, against buildings, darkness billowing. Great ravens, wheeling, voicing triumphant cries. Quick Ben said, it's not going to clear." Perrin frowned at Quick Ben's strange statement and thought, "Clear? What's not?" He snapped his head round, back to Moonspawn, and thought, "Oh." The base of the floating mountain was directly opposite, sliding ever closer. He thought, so close. Towering, filling the sky. Quick Ben went on, "I thought Rake would at least come down in person for this. Instead, he's elected something, less subtle." Perrin thought, "Like obliterating this entire keep and everyone in it." He said, Quick Ben." Quick Ben cut in, "Aye, we'd better make our move." A huge black panther flowed from the stairwell, paused, lambent eyes taking in the scene on the rooftop, then fixing on the seer. Quick Ben was suddenly on his feet. He shouted, "No, wait!" The panther's huge head swung to the wizard, eyes blazing, lips peeling back. Perrin said, "I don't think it wants to wait." Tail lashing, the panther drew a step closer to the cowering seer whose back was to them all. Quick Ben hissed, "Damn! Time's now, Talamandus!" Perrin thought, "Who?" Moonspawn struck the parapet roof's wall with a grinding, grating crunch. The inexorable wall of stone plowed forward. The matron screamed. Wet, streaming basalt pinned the Kachane Chamal where she lay, then seemed to gather her in. Blood sprayed, bones snapped. Moonspawn's apex edging across the rooftop, leaving in its wake chewed tiles and smears of blood and flesh. What a way to go. This is like watching a massive ship plowing into a pier. Slow-moving, horrific destruction.
Oh, yeah. This is really reminiscent of some real anime when you're taking a city and smearing another entity with the city into the other city, leaving the blood spill. You know, it's like, it's what they're doing, man. It's like, it's so anime. It's just so anime. It's great. I love it. I mean, I say that as no insult. It's like, I love it. I mean, it's just...
Your description is very spot on. I like that.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
The seer shrieked, backpedaled, directly towards the panther, which suddenly coiled. Moonspawn sank suddenly, dropping a man's height, punching through the roof. Tiles dipped beneath Perrin, bricks buckling on all sides. The world swayed. Quick Ben struck, sorcery tumbling out, hammering into the panther's flank, sending it flying, claws skittering. Quick Ben screamed, "Follow me!" lunging forward. Perrin, struggling to maintain his balance, reached and grasped the wizard's rain cape, was pulled along. He thought, so, it's now, to cheat them all. Gods forgive us. The seer spun to them and said, what? Quick Ben roared, Talamandus! As they closed with the seer, the wizard throwing himself onto the Jagoot. Warren opening around them, and away. Portal closing, then flaring as the panther plunged through it in pursuit. Moonspawn settled further, and the parapet burst apart, bricks snapping out to all sides. The two Segala darted back from the Kel hunters, leapt the low wall behind which Perrin and Quickben had hidden, and raced for the far end of the roof. Behind them, where the seer had crouched, a massive chunk of basalt split away from the apex in a gush of salt water, plunged down to bury the two Kael hunters, down through floor after floor into the bowels of the keep. Gravity remains undefeated. This thing is going to wreak havoc on this keep.
Yeah. This is big time destruction, too. This is nasty.
We are taken to Gruntle, who staggered, shoulders striking a wall, leaving a red stain as he slowly slid to a crouch. Before him, bent over in exhaustion or pain, kneeling or standing, blank-faced and ashen, were 8 Cappan women, 3 little more than children, 2 others with gray in their tangled, sweat-matted hair, their weapons hanging from trembling hands. All he had left. His Lestari officer was gone, dead. What was left of his body somewhere out in the killing field beyond the wall. That's a terrible loss. Gruntle probably has less than 10% of what he started with here.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's better than... I was thinking he was a sole survivor, so he may have a few left.
I want to say it was like 140 to 160, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Gruntle lowered his swords, leaned his head back against the dusty stone facing, and closed his eyes. He could hear fighting to the west. The gray swords had ridden in that direction, searching for Dujek. The black Maranth had returned to the sky above the westernmost third of the city, and seemed to be concentrated in one particular area, plunging in small groups down into the streets as if participating in a desperate defense. The snap of sharpers echoed. Closer at hand, directly opposite Gruntle and what was left of his legion, a Cussor had struck a large tenement. The building was moments from collapsing, raging with flames. Bodies of Panyan soldiers lay amidst rubble in the street, and slowly, tearing its way through the keep, Moonspawn, bleeding its darkness out into the city. The path of its destruction a chorus of demolition. His eyes remained closed. Boots kicked through broken masonry, then one nudged Gruntle's thigh. A voice said, "Lazy pig!" Gruntle sighed and said, "Stani." Stani said, "This fight ain't over." He opened his eyes and stared up at her. He said, "It is. Coral's fallen. Ha! No, it's falling. And isn't the victory sweet? Where have you been?" Stani shrugged, then glanced down at the rapier in her hand and said, "Here and there. Did what I could, which wasn't much. The Mott Irregulars are here. Did you know that? How in Hood's name did they manage that? Damn if they weren't there inside the gate when me and the Grey Swords showed up, and we thought we were first." Of course those guys are here. Why am I not surprised?
Dude, they're in the bad side of Coral, stealing hubcaps and T-tops.
Oh, it's worse than hubcaps. They're stealing dung. they're going to pick up the dung.
That's right. They're there to steal the dung. They got some good dung in Coral, I guess.
Gruntle said, "Stani." The preternatural darkness deepened suddenly. Moonspawn had drawn clear of the keep in a final toppling of walls. Still canted, still raining water in chunks of black rock, it drifted closer. A few men's heights above the city's buildings, filling the sky now almost above them. On the high ledge, no one remained visible. Great ravens were swinging close to the moon's sides, then wheeling away again with loud, echoing shrieks. Stani whispered, "Abyss, take us. That thing looks like it could fall at any moment. Just drop. Straight down, or in pieces. It's finished, Gruntle. Finished." He could not disagree. The edifice looked ready to break apart. Salty rain soaked his upturned face, mist from the mountain looming directly overhead. It was, all at once, as dark as an overcast night, and if not for the reflection from the fires spotting the city, Moonspawn would have been virtually invisible. He thought, "Gods, I wish it was." The sound of fighting to the west fell away, strangely sudden. They heard horse hooves pounding the cobbles. A moment later, riding into the glare of the burning buildings opposite, the destriant of the Grey Swords. She saw them, slowed her canter and swung her warhorse round to approach, then halted and said, "We have found the High Fist, sirs. He lives, as well as at least 800 of his soldiers. The city is taken. I return, now, to our staging area beyond the killing field. Will you accompany me, sirs? There will be a gathering," Gruntle thought, "of survivors." He looked around once more. The Talan A were gone. Without those undead wolves, the Kachin Shamal would have killed everyone outside the city. He thought, perhaps they, too, are gathering around that hill. And what of Itkovian? That damned fool. Does he still kneel before the Talani Mass? Does he still live? Gruntle sighed, slowly pushed himself upright. His gaze fell once more on his few remaining followers. He thought, all this just to get 50 paces inside the gate. Then said, "I, Destriant, will follow." All right, we're going to stop there, and we will continue the chapter where we left off next week. For standout moments, the arrival of Curald Galain and the effects it had on everyone on the ground in Coral, particularly that crushing weight and the cold feeling that it had.
It's even so much so that when it takes someone and drives somebody like an ascendant, like Lady Envy, to tell that group, take cover, go inside, let's get inside. So that's got to be pretty, I mean, for someone like her to be looking for cover, that's pretty bad.
Agreed. The absolutely epic reveal of Moonspawn emerging from Ortnell Cut. I love that imagery.
That's a fantastic image, dude. Absolutely cinematic, including the misdirect in the episode before that made us think it was in the clouds. That's just fantastic, dude.
Yep. Seeing the toll hiding Moonspawn underwater has taken on it. It was not designed to be a submarine.
No, apparently not. It seems like the pressure has almost wrecked it.
Jury's still out on that one. We'll see if it survives.
Yeah, I hope it does. I don't know why. Moonspawn always fascinates me.
We start the book with it practically. One of the first major scenes, the Battle of Pale, is one of your core memories from the first book, so it's been there from the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those condors finally meeting their match with the dragons from Moonspawn combined with Tistandi sorcery. You love to see it.
Yes, and it's about time. About that gum time.
Yes. I've been terrified of those things since I was a child watching Dark Crystal.
Right. Rightfully so.
The idea that the Tistandi haven't needed to perform a full unveiling of Curald Galain in this realm until now is wild to me. Truly surprised by that.
Yes, and with both a yes to both of those statements, and like we'd stated earlier, it's like, why wasn't this done in the original chaining or something like that? Because I think you and I both have said that we just thought that was going to be it, man. I mean, we assumed that has been done before.
Moonspawn wrecking the keep as it drags itself across the roof, falling apart as it travels, and then, I'm going to quote you, it's like a city dragging across another city to kill something.
It's fantastic, dude. It is such an absolutely sick visual. And this needs to be like 70 millimeter old school. It needs to be big.
It kind of is like that Doctor Strange imagery where the city's folding on itself and then all this crazy interaction happening, or like Inception a little bit.
Yeah, very much so.
Seeing the horrific losses sustained by Trake's Legion, they were fan favorites, and they took a big, big hit.
Dude, big losses there, and absolutely tough loss there. I was because I wanted to see, especially all those Capen women that joined up with that, but had joined up with him. I wanted to see them survive too. But at least they went out fighting, you know.
Yeah, they were real troopers, cast out in their own city, real survivors, and survivors of the siege of Kapustan. What tough people, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. They were absolutely tough characters, and it's a tough loss, but they at least went out honorably and fighting, just amazing, absolutely amazing. Another one for me is here was the loss of Trots, dude. For some reason, I thought he survived. I don't know why I keep thinking that he survives, but boy, the losses keep piling up this chapter. Like we stated, boy, it's growing.
Yeah, after that last engagement, he was chopped up, but
yeah,
he was still standing. Seemed okay.
He was still standing. Seemed all right, smiling.
Just like a horse, just goes until he can't go anymore. I don't know.
Just walk it off, dude. Just walk it off, man.
It's just a flesh wound.
It is but a scratch.
All right, great job tonight, Billy.
Hey, man, really good job. Really enjoyed it.
You got any final thoughts before we drop off here?
Just a tough chapter. Like I said, the loss of Trots, for some reason, I could still see him in Pale in the bar playing cards, and pissing everyone off about it too.
Yes. Yes.
Real slow. What if I do this? What if I do that? I can just see it now. And how much was that? Was just to egg them on. You never can tell with that old boy. And it's like, so I didn't like losing Trots. But it's part of what keeps it so real, man. Part of what keeps it so real.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next week.
We thank you all for joining us today.
Again, we'd really like to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and we've had a really great time talking about the topic today.
If you would like to support our show, you can find us at HorseFrogProductions.com, where you can find our Patreon link. Depending on the platform you're listening from, it may also be in the episode description.
And if you'd like to contact us through email, it's at contact@horsefrogproductions.com.